Here's a question that will ruin your next office meeting. Look around the room. How many of those people would the company actually miss if they vanished tomorrow? Not the nurses. Not the engineers. Not the warehouse crew shipping your orders at 3 a.m. I mean the other ones. The deputy coordinators. The strategy alignment consultants. The people 3 levels deep on an org chart whose entire week revolves around scheduling syncs for other syncs. 100 years ago, 4 out of 5 jobs involved making something physical. Today that ratio has completely flipped. Roughly 80% of the workforce now sits in the service economy, and buried inside that enormous category, a strange pattern has been hiding in plain sight. In 2023, Meta eliminated 21,000 positions. Revenue didn't shrink. It surged to $134 billion. Google removed 12,000 roles. Revenue climbed. Amazon let go of 27,000 people. Quarterly profit landed at $18 billion. 3 of the most data-driven organizations on the planet erased 60,000 roles in a single year, and performance improved. So here's the uncomfortable question: if the work still got done, what exactly were those 60,000 people doing all day? To understand why, we need to rewind, not to Silicon Valley, but to Moscow. The USSR ran on a single economic religion: everyone deserves a job. Labor wasn't just employment, it was identity. The state treated idleness as a crime, so factory bosses kept hiring long after the work ran out. If you managed 50 people, you mattered. If you managed 200, you were untouchable. The result? Entire shifts dedicated to recounting the same warehouse inventory that had been counted the day before. The West obviously operates under a different system. But corporate incentives can produce eerily similar outcomes. In 1950s Russia, managers stacked headcount to project authority. Scroll through LinkedIn today and you'll see the modern version: an endless feed of posts celebrating the honor of leading a cross-functional initiative to optimize stakeholder engagement velocity. The vocabulary changed. The behavior didn't. In 2018, an anthropologist named David Graeber tried to classify this phenomenon. His book Bullshit Jobs sorted pointless corporate roles into 5 buckets. And in the AI era, every single one of them is getting exposed. First, the entourage. Staff whose primary function is making a higher-up feel significant. A vice president with 3 personal assistants who produces the same output as a colleague with none. When Meta restructured in 2023, they discovered entire support teams orbiting managers with 0 direct reports. Those teams were dissolved overnight. Nobody noticed. Second, the patchwork crew. Employees whose whole day is spent repairing failures that a better process would prevent entirely. Graeber profiled someone who spent years quietly correcting the errors of a so-called star analyst, because the company never bothered to fix the root cause. In 2026, AI tools catch those errors in real time. The human patch is no longer needed. Third, the checkbox brigade. People hired to generate proof that a company looks serious. Internal newsletters no employee opens. Culture surveys that vanish into a shared drive. Compliance decks created for auditors who skim the cover page. AI can now auto-generate all of it in seconds, which is how companies discovered that no one had been reading any of it in the first place. Fourth, the arms race. Roles that exist only because a competitor created the same role first. Corporate legal teams that file patents not to innovate but to block others from innovating. Recall the famous smartphone patent dispute, one tech giant suing another over the shape of a rectangle. Thousands of attorneys, paralegals, and consultants burned years on that case. The total value produced? Arguably negative. Add lobbyists rewriting regulations and sales reps whose only function is redirecting contracts from company A to company B, and you have an entire ecosystem of people whose work cancels itself out. Fifth, and worst, the phantom bosses. Supervisors layered on top of teams that were already self-sufficient. A head of sales presiding over 10 reps who all carry identical quotas. Best case, that person sends motivational Slack messages. Worst case, they fill calendars with alignment reviews and vision workshops that pull productive people away from actual revenue. Zuckerberg had a blunter name for it: managers managing managers. When Meta stripped those layers out, revenue per employee climbed from $1.56 million to $2.06 million. Fewer humans, more output. The spreadsheet didn't lie. So if the free market is supposed to reward efficiency, why did these roles survive for decades? Two forces kept them alive. The first is structural self-interest. Every manager's compensation is tied to team size. Admitting your department could run with half the headcount is the corporate equivalent of asking to be demoted. So nobody says it. Budgets inflate, layers multiply, and the org chart grows like a tumor that no one wants to biopsy. The second is regulatory gravity. Modern economies run on a web of licensing, compliance, and reporting requirements. Each new rule spawns a small army of people to interpret it, enforce it, and lobby to rewrite it. Corporations pour money into that lobbying, which generates more legislation, which demands more staff. The loop feeds itself. For decades, none of this was visible because no one had a reliable way to measure real output. Clocking 8 hours counted as working 8 hours. Attending meetings counted as contributing. Sending emails counted as being productive. Then generative AI arrived, and the fog lifted. Companies suddenly had tools that could quantify what each person actually delivered. Spotify cut 2,300 employees and immediately posted a record quarterly profit of €168 million. Dropbox trimmed 36% of its workforce, revenue per remaining employee jumped 19% in a single year. Over and over, the same result: shrink the payroll, watch the numbers improve. These layoffs were never really about saving money. They were a performance review disguised as a restructuring. And millions of positions didn't pass. Most commentary on this topic ends with a shrug. That's just how it is. Find a side hustle. That's not an answer. That's surrender. Here's something more useful. If any of this hit a nerve, run 3 checks on your own career. Check 1: can you prove what you produce? Open a blank document right now and list every tangible thing you shipped, solved, or built in the past month, something that would not exist without you. If the page stays empty, that's your signal. Start keeping a weekly output log. When the next restructuring hits, the only survivors will be people who can justify their seat in a single sentence. Check 2: are you using AI or hiding from it? Nobody was fired because a chatbot took their job. They were let go because a single colleague figured out how to use AI and absorbed the workload of 4. A 12-person marketing department became 3 people producing the same volume. That compression is accelerating. Learning these tools isn't optional anymore, it's the difference between being the person who stays and the person on the list. Check 3: look at where demand is exploding. Licensed electricians now earn a median of $65,000, with 6-figure pay in major metros. Plumber wages climbed 23% in 5 years. The HVAC sector alone is 110,000 technicians short today, not in some forecast today. These are roles that require a physical human, genuine skill, and zero chance of automation. The social stigma around skilled trades might be the single biggest mispricing left in the labor market. And mispricings are opportunities. If anything in the last 10 minutes made your stomach drop, that's not a bad thing. Discomfort is the first sign that you're actually thinking about this. The restructuring wave is far from over. The next cycle of cuts will be sharper, faster, and harder to argue with. Hit subscribe, because in the next video, we're mapping out the exact roles AI is targeting in 2026, and the ones that are genuinely untouchable. Some of the answers will surprise you.